Hi everybody and welcome to the Gentleman's Debate. It's me, Sam, and I've got Simon here with me, and we've got some great stuff to talk about today. We were going to do this on our last episode, but we did unfortunately run out of time, so we're going to do it tonight. And I am prepared.
You're absolutely attired. Yes. I feel a bit... I'm not properly attired. I feel a bit not ready.
I'm just super excited. In every way to talk about Star Wars.
And then...
And then we've got our very, very first guest appearance on the podcast, which is Jason Furness, an MMA journalist, which we're very excited to have, which we'll get to that a bit later on. And then we've also got to round off our funny news articles.
The tumultuous return of the funny news articles.
Yes. Shall we just get straight in?
Let's dive in with the fucking Star Wars news, Sam.
I
don't think we're allowed to do that. I think Disney would send us...
It's my own interpretation.
Oh, and as long as you do it for less than 30 seconds, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get demonetized, bitches.
Woohoo! Excellent. Thank you very much.
But yeah, so... with the much anticipated release of The Last Jedi.
I'm so fucking stoked for this film. The promo's been amazing. The trailers, the promos, the Lego. The Lego's fucking baller.
The pop vinyls, which I am an avid collector of.
Good to see Star Wars is my anniversary present. It's a fucking amazing anniversary present.
It's the best anniversary present. It'd be even better if it was just like, no, it's just me going to see it. Nobody else. Yeah. I'm just in a room by myself with C-3PO and R2-D2 serving me drinks.
I'd like to, for the people who've not listened to this podcast before, welcome Josh, who's now got a microphone.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
We've had a microphone on the last one.
Yes, he did.
But
people might not have listened to the last one, which we implore you to go and listen to our previous podcasts.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can hear us talk to Josh around about lots of different things as he's helping us. Yes, all 18.
All 18.
This will be the 19th.
This will be 19. This is episode 19.
Oh, remember when you were 19 years old? Remember those years?
I remember bits.
Yes, that's a good way. That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it. I had hair.
That's how fucking long ago. No,
that's how. Yeah.
He only just recently
shaved it all off.
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
No, I think it's about. Let's say it's closer. I think it was closer to a month.
Yeah.
There wasn't much to shave off.
No, it was receding quite heavily. I mean, once I saw... I mean, it was going all the way at the front to begin with, but then it started going towards the back, and I was just like, you know what, fuck that. Just get it over with. One thing I don't like, however, is I wish I could have it to the nub. Like, I wish I could have it, like, properly. There's no, like, almost no hair on it. But because it's head hair, it grows back very quickly. But it basically just means I've got a continuous bit of hair around my entire head. Like some kind of weird bandage, basically. But I might grow like a big hipster beard.
Like a discount Bruce
That's probably
Willis.
the best way to do it.
What did you just say?
Like a discount Bruce Willis.
Discount Bruce Willis. I'm going to take that as my nickname now. Thank you.
Okay. So with the release of The Last Jedi in December, that's our first segue. There has been news recently.
Dun, dun, dun.
Very, very exciting news, because rumour has it that the studio executives for Disney and Star Wars have been so impressed with Rian Johnson's work on The Last Jedi.
Oh, yes!
I've seen this. They're not even waiting to see how it actually ends up being received. They have said they are so happy with the final product that they've got. They have given him his own Star Wars trilogy.
This isn't a rumor, is it? I thought it was confirmed.
It's confirmed.
No.
It's been confirmed.
The rumor is why they've given him it. That is the rumor, is to like they're so happy with it. They have confirmed. Yeah. To reiterate,
who did the first? So the Force Awakens was done by.
Force Awakens was J.J. Abrams.
So then they did
The Last Jedi, which is coming out in December, which is Rian Johnson.
Who's going to be doing the third?
J.J. Abrams is back on for episode 9.
Shit. You know, here's an interesting bit as a segue, but pertinent towards Star Wars, is that Mark Hamill, you know how there's a bit of confusion as to whether maybe, spoiler alert, whether maybe Luke has turned to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a thing where Mark Hamill did an interview in America with J.J. Abrams and was talking about how he wish he could play a dark Luke, because he's good for his dark characters. I mean, you look at Mark Hamill. A lot of people don't know this. You know the Batman games and cartoon series. He does the voice for the Joker.
Yep. In my opinion, he is the best Joker.
Best voice. No, I can't say. You can only say voice.
Best live action, Heath Ledger, easily.
100%.
There's nobody that
I'd say I could say a close second was Jared Leto. And do you know the reason why? I want to say that.
No.
I want to say that.
No.
It's not a popular opinion.
It's not a popular opinion. I'm not one for the popular opinions. I'll tell you why I think that. And I think Suicide Squad, he was edited out quite heavily to not be able to give himself away.
I think there was a reason why he was edited.
We don't know. But we don't know. We didn't see that footage. I think he was good in Blade Runner 2049.
I still haven't seen that yet. I still want to see that. No, in my opinion, Jared Leto, when it came to the Joker, he didn't play the Joker. He just tried to be as creepy as possible.
That's a good counter. I'm open to opinions.
Did you hear about what he did, offset?
Yeah, sent them dead rats and used condoms to Margot Robbie or something like that. It's just,
that's what
edgy.
Yeah, but Heath Ledger did that. Heath Ledger did that.
No,
he did that as well.
No, he just kept methodical diaries.
But he also used to do pranks as well. I wouldn't say pranks. I think he was doing stuff that was fucked up as well. He stayed in character quite a lot.
He did.
He was a method actor. I think Jared Leto was trying to do that as well.
Trying to emulate, but it just didn't work.
Look at the live action Joker. Look at the live action Jokers. Like, I would say Jared Leto's a close second, because Jack Nicholson I wasn't very big fan of.
I'm also not a fan of Jack Nicholson's Joker. Jack Nicholson was basically Jack Nicholson being Jack Nicholson that happened to be dressed like the Joker.
It was wearing purple.
That was it.
And then you had...
have you seen the Flash TV series?
Yes. Bits.
Only bit. I haven't seen...
Mark Hamill plays a villain called the Trickster.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much his live-action version of his animated Joker.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Like, you'll either give it... Like, it would be interesting. You know what would be interesting? Old man Joker. Old man Batman.
I have several ideas about
anyway,
all this.
we need to talk about Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Second
and this
segue.
is the exciting thing, because this is what I read on it. It was that they're so impressed with the Last Jedi. They're giving him this trilogy, and they said it's not going to be part of the Skywalker timeline.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with. The one bit that sort of worried me is they said that it's going to be a part of the galaxy that is unexplored. Which
Outer Rim, isn't it?
But depending on what they mean by that, I'm not sure if they mean it's a part of the timeline or an actual part of their the galaxy of Star Wars. I'm hoping they meant timeline.
Yeah.
In Old Republic.
Yes.
Or
I think everybody is hoping Old Republic.
Or what they could do is they could do and this actually could be a pretty shit idea, is that they could do a trilogy that falls within to fill in the gaps. You know, like they're doing trilogies to fill in the gaps between Return of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith and
Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
But they had to put in a Han Solo film in between that as well, to be able to figure out where Han Solo came from.
I am not. See, this is what I was hoping. This is like when that came out and they said they're doing the trilogy for Rian Johnson. I was hoping the executives were just sort of dusting the Han Solo film behind.
No, well, it has had
and just
problems.
going, no, it's we never mentioned anything about a Han Solo film. What are you on about?
He kicked off Phil Lord and Chris Miller as the director.
Yeah.
Ron Howard. Yeah, that film.
They've got the actors sorted.
I am not optimistic for that film in any way, shape, or form.
I think it's going to be.
And I wasn't when they announced it.
I think it's going to be a sleeping dragon. I think it's actually going to be because there's not as much pressure on them for it.
Yeah, I suppose, but it's a film. Actually, and this is weirdly an unpopular opinion. It's a film that didn't need to be made, like Rogue One. I liked Rogue One.
I really enjoyed Rogue One.
It's not a bad film. It's one of those films, the more I watch it, the more I start to pick flaws with it, and I like it a little bit less each time. But it is a good film, but it didn't need to be made.
Those last 2 minutes were.
The last 2 minutes were great. Ironically, yeah, it's an okay film, but it does have one of the best scenes.
It would be good if they
across the Star Wars filmography.
The third kind of non-Star Wars trilogy, as in let's say non-Skywalker kind of thing. I think in this in the ilk of Han Solo standalone film, Rogue One, I think it'd be interesting to have a Darth Vader film in between the two to show how he became Darth Vader.
Yeah,
yes, the comic book series.
That's what they were hoping for. They were hoping for Jedi. Darth Vader, Jedi hunter, hunting down the remaining, because that's what he does in the comics. He hunts down a lot of the remaining Jedis that survived Order 66. That would have been great. My problem with the Han Solo film is he's already such an established character. We didn't need to know what he was up to before A New Hope, because we technically already know he was smuggling. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to know any more about him than what we do know. He's such an established character and an iconic character played by Harrison Ford. I think his story from A New Hope to The Force Awakens was done and dusted, and that's all we needed. I think like you say,
he's dead. The problem is that he's dead, and they're going back. But then you could say that they've done that with Obi-Wan Kenobi with the prequels.
This is what I was about.
We met Chewie.
Yeah, very much, yeah. And they're gonna shoehorn Greedo in. They're gonna shoehorn Jabba in.
They're gonna shoehorn. Well, I don't know if it's going to be a shoehorn, but they're also good. No. It's going to be Lando Calrissian. Yeah, because he's being played by Childish Gambino.
Yeah. Donald Glover. Childish Gambino, whatever. So he likes to go by now.
But the trilogy. So now to go over to the actual announcement, obviously with the trilogy, that is it Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson is going to be directing or producing. Directing. Is that if it's an unexplored thing, it would be interesting to see. Knights of the Old Republic would be interesting, but would they do a leap forward in to go again future? Because it always seemed like, look, if you look at the prequels, look how poorly received they were.
Yeah.
So that's a risky one. Knights of the Old Republic is a special place for certain people in Star Wars.
I think it will either be in the past, so there will be prequels in a way, or it'll be set around the same sort of time. I think it would be a bad idea for them to go forward, especially if they're going to... To be fair, I don't know if they're going to release one before Episode 9 is out.
No, they couldn't do that.
They've already got the plans for the Solo.
Yeah, that's why it would be a bad idea to go further forward.
Is it every Star Wars film is getting turned out every 2 years?
Every year.
Every year there is some, but I mean the big ones. Big ones. So like A Force Awakens, and then there's 2 years. It's been 2 years, and now it's a Return of the Jedi.
So
Last Jedi. Fucking hell. And then the next one will be
2019.
It'll be Darth Vader's Big Black Dildo 3000. No.
Is that a working title? Well,
yeah, fuck it. Why not?
Suggest it.
I mean Disney. Well, yes. It would be interesting. I think that probably is a porn film, actually. If you can think it, it's on the internet.
Without a doubt.
If not, it is now.
Knights of the Old Republic would be, but the thing is, like, that is a proper, like, sacred part for people who are big Star Wars fans. You fuck it up, you have fucked. You basically might as well ruin the franchise.
Mm-hmm. The one thing they've not shown in the games is the Mandalorian Wars.
Yep.
It always takes place afterwards.
To
see a trilogy of Star Wars films taking place during the Mandalorian Wars. I mean, don't Clone Wars it up, please. Please.
Oh, you mean Clone Wars up as in put it into the animated TV series?
No, just anything like the prequels.
I feel like...
I'm going to have this debate with you one day. It could be today. Right? The prequels, they're not that bad.
Kill him. Kill him now. Do it.
I'll give you Phantom Menace. I'll give him Phantom Menace.
Right.
I can give you that one. But the other two...
I understand why people dislike them.
Missa called Jar Jar Binks. Missa, your humble servant.
That won't be necessary.
Oh, but it is. It is demanded by the gods, it is. Oh, no!
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Hello there.
Although Darth Maul is one of the greatest.
Darth Maul's great.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones is the Attack of the Clones is the worst one.
Grievous is great.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I think that
Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, I know what they could do. Oh, are they thinking about doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone?
Yes. Ewan McGregor has just basically on. Yes.
Of course he does.
Yes.
Because money.
Well, not only that, he loves the character.
He's a very He did a real. I think he was the.
He's without a doubt the highlight of the.
Him, Samuel Jackson, because it's the only time Samuel Jackson didn't play himself in a film. There you go. Because normally he goes, "Shut up, motherfucker!" Like he did it in the most recent one he did with Ryan Reynolds. the assassin's
Hitman's
bodyguard, whatever
yeah.
it
Still
was.
haven't seen that.
Probably keep it that way.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan.
I'm just one of those people where whatever Ryan Reynolds is in, it's automatically going to be good.
I was just like, wow, Star Wars is the only film where Samuel L. Jackson doesn't play Samuel L. Jackson. Like, it's just not him. It's like the other film that
And Windu was cool.
Mace Windu was awesome.
Yeah.
I found out all about his lore recently.
His lore's great.
Yeah, his lore is that
Yeah.
he learned a certain type of lightsaber combat that was all about letting the dark side flow through you,
Yeah.
but not you actually being of the dark side. That you,
He could.
The Grey Jedi.
yes,
Yeah.
The Grey Jedi is what could be. This is where a lot of people
This
are
is
alluding
what-
with the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that Luke's just an outright Sith now.
No, I
Imagine if he
think
was.
it'd sort of go against his character arc
Imagine
if he was
that.
an out-and-out Sith. I think he means the Grey Jedi.
But then again, in a way, the way that he killed... Well, he didn't kill Darth Vader, but the way that he overpowered him...
He tapped into the, and he was wearing, he apparently, like, because there's I watch like a Star Wars YouTube channel which does a lot of theories and stuff like that.
Is it Star Wars Theory?
No, it's called
About 18.
Stupendous Wave.
I watched that as well,
Stupendous Wave. So shout out to Stupendous Wave on YouTube
And Star Wars
keep-
Theory.
keep-
And
Dash Star.
Bash Star. So shout out all to those YouTube channels. You're doing a good job. Keep it up. We want to hear more content from you. But the theory around about it was that Luke was going for, like, he tapped into the dark side because he had a very personal connection to his father,
Yep.
which was the main attribute for him doing what he wanted to do. And then obviously all his friends were being murdered and were killed, or well, they weren't actually, but they were. And then obviously he's all clad in black. And he's lost his arm. He's going through a lot of emotional things, but then he uses his emotions to then have a peaceful moment at the end where he goes, "Well, I'm not actually going to kill you. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was save my dad, and I've done that."
and that's a bit when he turns to the Emperor and it's
Throws the lightsaber away. But then it would be interesting to see I would like to see a darker version of Luke, because I think.
Yeah.
He's seen as that virtuous character in it.
Definitely got to see that. A dark
Yeah,
take on him.
I do as well. I think it's more, from what I can gather from the trailers, I think it's broken man.
Yeah.
He's broken.
Imagine if he goes full apeshit on people.
What I really want to see is I want to see Luke powerful, like
Full power of Luke,
insanely
yeah.
powerful, and I want Snoke. And there's a really interesting theory going around that Snoke is actually an ancient Sith from the Old Republic who's been in hiding all these years whilst he sort of regathers his strength, almost like Voldemort in a way, but better because it's Star Wars.
Yes.
It's not Plagueis. I don't want it to be Plagueis.
No.
It could be, yeah, but it could be. Oh, who else was there? Was Darth Revan?
It can't be Revan because Revan.
Which was
wait,
what was the one who
is
could?
it Revan?
Which was the one that could he could inhabit people's bodies? Oh, Star Wars fans are fucking going insane right now, aren't they? They're shouting.
I know
at us.
who you mean.
Can you Google that now, Josh? Just Google it and see which Sith Lord was able to take over people. He could just he wouldn't die, basically. He couldn't die. He was like a fucking zombie, basically. It was that he had do you remember he had the white mask with red on it?
Yeah.
He was
Nihilus.
Darth Nihilus.
Yeah.
Yes, that's Real Republic 2.
So that could be and this is where it could be the tie-in to the new trilogy of the Knights of Old Republic, where
That's
you
it.
see Nihilus become Nihilus.
What, in the Rian Johnson trilogy?
Yeah, so it could be.
Yeah,
that would be a brilliant.
fun. I
That would
thought
be
you
a
meant
good.
Snoke.
That'd be a good
I was gonna
tie
say,
through.
Snoke couldn't be Nihilus because Nihilus doesn't have a corporeal form.
But he could inhabit. I thought he could inhabit people's bodies.
No, I think that is.
Keep googling, Josh. Keep googling. Try and figure this out for us. Which Sith Lord it could be. Annoys me that.
I should know this.
All I want to see, and all I want to see in this, is some kind of flashback to when Luke just fucking power fucks a bunch of, like, the Empire. And he just, like, I don't know, let's say, for example, he just pulls a Star Destroyer out of the sky.
What, like for the trailer for the Force Unleashed?
Yes, exactly that.
Play that part. That was friggin' terrible.
What, the game?
Yeah.
It was alright.
That scene where you're pulling down the Star Destroyer.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of that game was bullshit.
Yeah.
A lot of that game was bullshit, but it was an interesting story arc, I thought. And it made sense. It really did make sense. I liked Starkiller. He was an interesting character. I don't think he's ever going to be put into Star Wars canon.
I don't think it's canon anymore. No.
There was a plan. There was a plan to introduce him into Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. But,
Star Wars Rebels, the cartoon series. I don't like that. They should have made it a live action. In all honesty.
I know. I haven't watched Rebels.
Yeah.
I'm still shamefully still going through the Clone Wars because I hadn't actually watched all of the Clone Wars animated series properly.
I've still not seen it myself, but I hear it gets darker and darker as the series goes on.
Yeah.
What, Rebels or
Clone Wars?
Of course it goes darker and darker. It's a fucking war. I mean, the Jedi basically fight. How long is the war for? It's like fucking 5-10 years, something ridiculous like that. And they fight their way through, having to kill. And the worst bit, what I realised, the worst bit about the Clone Wars is that they're fighting droids. Things that don't die, they just stop working. That's the worst bit when you think about it. It's just you're being killed by machines.
Yeah.
Not killed by like living beings that breathe and feel. That's quite a chilling thing to think about especially when you're churning out let's say thousands or millions of the same clone.
Yep.
Same cloned person that had his head cut off, in front of his son. And then his son then had to pull his dad's head. Oh, this is the bit I figured out.
No,
he would have to have.
It's a different.
Is it a different suit of armor? I thought he took over his suit. Like he took his suit of armor.
Clone Wars lasted 3 years, by the way.
3. That's a long war. Like a war. A 3-year war is quite a long one. Not as long as like wars we've had, but we've had fucking wars that have lasted for fucking like 13 years. I think the war in Afghanistan.
When you have lightsabers, you expect them to last about 10
Oh, did you see the simulation of they did 100 Jedi versus 10,000 Spartans or Romans, and they just fucking annihilate. Like it was a computer simulation. It wasn't fucking like a live action thing. And they went, okay, 1 Jedi versus 10 Romans, 1 Jedi versus 100, and then they started just putting it more and bigger and more, and it just was like 100 Jedis versus 10,000 Romans, and they just. All the Jedis got encircled, but then they were just cutting their way out like a fucking virus exploding out of a blood cell. It was horrendously scary. We're watching it, and you're like, oh, how come they didn't beat the droid? Like in the Attack of the Clones, where they come to the where Count Dooku is, that arena.
Geonosis.
Yeah, they come to there, and they all drop in. And they're all like, "What's up, motherfuckers?" And they have that massive thing. You're like, how the fuck did they not kill more? Like, how did so many of them die? I know they're getting hit with blasters, but come on, Jedi, you're better than this. You could do better. I love how the reason why Samuel Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber was because he wanted to stand out from everyone else.
He wanted to spot himself in the fight scenes.
It's a good idea, to be honest.
And he has BMF.
No, he doesn't.
Etched on the hilt.
No, he doesn't. Did he keep it? Did he keep his lightsaber?
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
oh,
he did, yeah.
I would.
He explained it on the Graham Norton show.
He's still
got the hilt of his lightsaber.
Going over to somebody who kept the prop than they shouldn't have. Ryan Reynolds kept the Deadpool suit.
He stole it, didn't he?
He stole it, and then the producers were like, we actually need that back. And he's like, well, you better make a second film then.
Yep.
Lucky for him, they've made a second one.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Released the teaser.
Yes, they have, yeah.
Yes, that is going to be amazing. I think that's possibly where they can start turning around the fucking X-Men franchise. With somebody like Deadpool. They need to basically...
They need to reboot the X-Men franchise.
Well, they've tried...
No, I mean completely reboot.
Clean slate.
Yeah, clean slate. These new films now have nothing to do with the old ones.
Yes, Josh.
The trailer for the New Mutants.
New Mutants. Yeah, it looks great, doesn't it?
New Mutants.
Yeah, have you seen it?
No, I've not. But
it's like a horror film.
But it's about the X-Men world, I presume.
Yeah.
So it's a Marvel.
It looks
spin out.
Brilliant.
Interesting.
And it's got Maisie Williams in it from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Anna Taylor-Joy from Split.
I don't know how well it's going to do, if I'm honest.
Well, obviously it depends if it's a good film, but
from everything else that they've already built,
I think it'll do very well critically, but it might suffer a bit box office wise because you can't take your kids to see it.
Yeah, but that's happened with Deadpool. Remember they released it.
Look how well that did.
They released it on Valentine's Day, and they're like, "Here's the perfect Valentine's present." But then at the beginning of the film, he went, "If you've brought your kids, you really should leave now because this is not the film for them." Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talking about masturbating, a lot of talk around about all sorts of shit. So interesting, and I like the idea. I think the Star Wars, I think the new trilogy, whatever the fuck it's going to be, let's call it the Rian trilogies.
Yeah, for now.
I think it's going to be. I think they have to nail it, and if they don't nail it, I think they're going to have to. I think they will.
Yeah.
Because of the pressure. Because that could be the very last Star Wars films ever.
I think if The Last Jedi doesn't do well critically, it's already under pressure.
Yeah.
But
and then you got the pressure of the Han Solo film.
Yeah, exactly. But
Man.
like I say, I think the Han Solo film, I think
At least he's not directing
destined
that.
to fail.
Imagine if they smash it out of the park.
Do.
Imagine you flipping...
If they do, I want them to smash it out of the park. I don't want bad Star Wars films. I love Star Wars. It is my favourite thing on this planet.
I don't know how they're going to cover it. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to be like, oh, how Han Solo became a smuggler?
It'll be basically how he became a smuggler, how he met Chewie, how he met Lando, and how he won the Falcon.
I don't know if that's going to be worth it.
And Emilia Clarke's going to be there because she's riding off the success of Daenerys.
Which one's... I was about to say who's Emilia Clarke, and then you answered that question for me.
Yeah. Whilst Emilia Clarke is great, she seems like a great
you seen her in
human being.
Ex Machina or Machina?
That's not her. That's
I thought it was
Alicia Vivekander or Alicia Vivekander.
She's playing Tomb Raider.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
I thought it was.
No, it's not Emilia Clarke in Ex.
Not doing well here.
They do sort of look similar though, so I will give it
Emilia
that.
Clarke
Yeah.
was in Terminator Genesis.
Yes.
Oh god, that was terrible.
I haven't seen that. I
You
refuse.
keep it that way. You definitely don't want to see that film.
For me, the Terminator films go Terminator 1, Terminator 2.
Stop. Yeah, you don't need to go any further. You really don't need anything else. Because the Christian Bale one was shit. The third one was extremely shit.
Actually, the Christian Bale one wasn't bad. It's just Sam Worthington is a terrible actor.
Which one's Sam Worthington?
The guy who...
See the Australian guy?
Yeah.
Avatar, though.
No, don't get me started on Avatar.
When's Avatar 2 going to be coming out?
Who cares? Who gives a shit? No one gives a shit. It was a terrible film. It was awful. Visually, it's like, oh, this is nice. But
Script-wise.
I've just wasted about 7 hours of my life watching this piece of crap.
It was a good technical film.
Yes, I'll agree there.
Wasn't there?
It's Pocahontas.
It was Pocahontas in space, and it was terrible. I'll hear nothing more on it. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible film.
So is our first article about Avatar 2 being released. Avatar 2 trailer. It's just Sam Worthington going, fuck you, Sam Carter. I don't know why he's from Scunthorpe.
I was going to say...
Why is he fucking from Scunthorpe?
Mind you, he can't hold a fucking accent, can he? I'm sorry. You're probably a really nice guy, Sam Worthington, but you cannot act.
No, he did. Do you know what he's good at? Voice acting.
You can cut...
He did the voice acting for Call of Duty.
Did he?
Yes, Call
was
of
he
Duty.
Australian in it?
Yes.
Of course he
no,
was.
I think he was. He had an American accent. Actually,
so he played an American who every now and then slipped into Australian.
What's it called? It was Call of Duty Black Ops. He did Black Ops 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, he played Mason.
He played Mason! What do the numbers mean? What do the numbers mean? That guy. Not the guy who was saying the numbers, but Mason. I fucking loved him in that.
I think
They were amazing.
I only played
Black Ops
zombies.
3 is...
I never played the campaign on it. I just played zombies on whichever one it was on.
Black Ops 3 went down...
Black Ops 2 was Aliens, wasn't it?
No. I don't think they've ever done Aliens.
They have.
Oh, have they done Aliens?
Yeah, they've done Aliens.
It was Black Ops 3, I thought there was Aliens, where they had the aliens.
There's 3
you
of
had to
them?
survive, yeah. It's the third one, which wasn't as good, in my opinion. Because they kept the story...
God, they're all exactly the same.
The story went... So they had the campaign missions. The story went up to the second one, and it didn't go up to the third one.
No. Fuck you, Sam Worthington. Fuck you, COD.
James Cameron fucking hates you, man.
What films did James Cameron do apart from Avatar?
An actor?
Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Aliens, Avatar, The Deep.
So he's got a fucking amazing sheet
Titanic.
of work. Like his book of work is basically the who's who of the great modern films.
Well,
so I can't slate him for
James
that.
Cameron's work.
I can't. I don't think you can slate. No, because it's like you haven't got a leg to stand on.
Until Titanic. Titanic
was a great.
Titanic's a good film, mate. Just because you don't like the Titanic.
No, that's the thing. I like the Titanic. It was an alright film. Most of the stuff that James Cameron did after Titanic was not up to standard. Like the high standards that he set himself.
Wasn't all he did after Titanic Avatar?
No, he's done a couple of others.
Didn't he do Alien?
Like Everest. Did he do Everest? He did the Deep after Avatar.
This is why we use why we have Josh with his powerful Google
He's done
skills.
a few films after Avatar.
We have IMDb.
After Titanic.
IMDb, not IMDb. Don't do what Mickey does.
The IMDb.
It's not fucking phonetic language. Thank you, guys. So Star Wars.
Star Wars. You know what film I do want to see?
Oh god, here we go. Yep.
Have you ever read the Star Wars comics?
Yes.
So there's a series called Tag and Bink.
Yes.
Now, Ron Howard said he's possibly going to use them in the Han Solo film.
Right.
But if you don't know who Tag and Bink are, they're basically a couple of Force-sensitive guys that have ties to do with everything in the series so far. So, in episode 4, where...
A New Hope.
A New Hope, okay.
Yeah. Just making sure everybody knows what the name is.
So, in A New Hope, where Obi-Wan is going to, shut down the tractor beam?
Yep. Tractor beam.
It's a tractor beam, yeah.
Okay. And there's 2 stormtroopers, and they're just like, oh yeah, have you seen the new BT-16s?
Yep.
That's them.
Right.
You know when in Empire Strikes Back...
Yes.
Where they're on Cloud City and C-3PO goes into, a room and just gets blasted to pieces? It's them that shoot him.
Right.
So they're Force sensitive, but they're on the Empire side.
Well, they're not on the Empire side. They just get caught up in everything to do with...
But they're stormtroopers.
They don't really have a side.
It sounds like they're like the Bill and Ted of the Star Wars universe, if I'm honest, mate.
Yeah.
And to be honest, no one gives a fuck about Bill and Ted anymore.
It's one film.
At first, when you were describing them, a couple of Force-sensitive users, I thought you sort of basically... that they had already done that in not already done that, but they tried to sort of shoehorn that idea in Rogue One with Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus, because they're
Can you explain for the listeners? Can you explain who they are in the film? Because we're probably not going to know.
Chirrut Imwe's the blind guy, and
Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen Malbus is his mate.
Oh, the other Asian guy. Because I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately. But Donnie Yen, I was surprised that Donnie Yen was in that, because he played the blind guy. I was very surprised, but when I saw that announcement, I went, fuck yes.
By the blind guy, we mean everybody's favourite character in Rogue One.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Followed closely, probably, by K2SO.
Yeah, that was voiced by the guy from...
Alan Tudyk.
Who did Serenity, and what was the fucking... That was the film.
Firefly.
And then the series is called Firefly.
Yep, and he was also in A Knight's Tale, guys. Come on.
He was in A Knight's Tale. Yes, he was. Well, good memory. There's a lot. We're going film heavy. We're going right flipping in the pink when it comes to films today.
So
I've got 2 in the pink and 1 in the stink, and when it comes to film. I got it in.
You know what would have been funnier if you'd done this?
what she said.
If you'd done this?
Yeah, sorry.
No, okay, we're not going to. Let's not use.
Make sure I get it right.
Josh, can you not use those stills for our promos?
Now we're demonetised.
Yeah.
I hope you're happy with yourself.
Anyway, what have you got there, Josh? You said.
While we're on the subject of James Cameron as well,
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
he hasn't. After Titanic, he didn't direct a film until Avatar.
Right.
So that's quite a hefty gap.
How many years is that?
Years.
19 years. Man, he must have run out of money.
You know what he was saying?
That's why he came back.
You know what he said he was
Now, how
going to
can
be
it?
doing?
No, wait, how can it be 19 years?
Titanic till Avatar.
Avatar was 2000. Yeah.
Hang on.
12 years.
Well, we can obviously see that Josh's mathematics skills have taken a hit today.
But hey,
I'm quite glad I picked up on that.
2 + 2 is 4. Minus 1 is 3. That's quick maths.
I'm so glad that because you said that to me earlier, and I was like, oh, what grime artist is that? What grime? Can you tell me? Big Shaq. Big Shaq. Okay, who's actually a comedian that does grime.
From what I've heard, yeah.
From what you've heard, you fucking listen to it. I do. To be honest, that's a fairly good line.
He goes home and prays to his Big Shaq shrine. That was almost a very, very difficult sentence to get out.
You almost said something you shouldn't have.
What did?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. Anyway, let us.
That just went straight over my
Yeah. Shall we round this up with the
Yes.
funny news articles, Joshua?
Okay, so we have 3 funny news articles
Ooh.
at the moment.
Oh, please give me the least funny first.
The least funny first.
Yeah, we want to work towards the funniest.
Okay. So, mystery over giant LFC carving on Shropshire Hill.
LFC.
LFC.
Liverpool Football Club.
Yep.
Right. What's the funny bit about it?
It's Liverpool.
It's Liverpool.
Hey! Teed him up there, didn't I? Wow, I was quite happy with that.
So, no one knows where it actually has come from. Like,
So, how big is the
Liverpool,
carving?
probably.
How big is this carving?
between 85 and 100 metres in length.
85 to 100 metres in length.
Yep.
Holy fuck. All I can see right now is Sam's face as he's gotten up to look at the actual picture. Sam, can you give us your immediate feedback?
It makes me sick.
Has it got the Liverpool Football Club symbol, or is it just LFC?
It's just LFC.
That's pretty fucking easy. It's not hard to chisel that out because it's all straight lines apart from the C. Yeah, so
Then you can do it as straight line.
yeah, you could do it straight lines.
Went into it,
Yeah,
and it's all red.
What
that's
a-
red as
What a
well.
waste. What a waste of time and effort.
You know somebody else is going to go up there and chisel in like our shit or wankers.
That'd be great.
Next one, Josh.
So Aldi has recalled peanuts packet from the shelves because the label didn't mention they contain nuts. Losing the name, guys.
As a peanut allergy sufferer,
Heavy sufferer.
heavy sufferer,
You die if you go near peanuts. You die if you go near peanuts.
not near them, but if I consume one, then yeah,
You're dead.
It's not looking. Outlook looks bleak.
Well, at least we know how to kill you. At least we know it.
I put a peanut in my mouth. And it's like,
If the podcast goes sideways, at least we know how to eliminate you. I just have a large allergy towards cats, but not one that would kill me.
you're just gonna rub peanuts on
it just
the microphone.
Yeah, that's actually what would happen.
Otherwise, looking at me.
I mean, admittedly, you're not going to do what Mickey does, which is rub your fucking mouth all over the microphone. Like for anyone who doesn't watch us on YouTube, Josh picked it up and I kind of saw it, but basically Mickey does this where for the people who are listening, he takes his lips and his beard and rubs it all over the bloody the windscreen that we put on the microphones. And you know what he said the reason was? Because it felt soft on his beard. Now, I'm sorry, but I've done it because to be like, is it actually soft? It's not soft. It pulls hair out of your fucking beard.
When I was editing the podcast, it actually picked it up on the mics as well.
Really? Oh, sod. Thanks, Mickey.
So we apologise to our viewers and listeners.
Okay, what's the final one here?
Oh no, I've got an extra one.
Oh, extra. Give us
extra.
give us the bonus one.
No,
Oh, the bonus one better be
Bonus
good.
one, the funniest.
Better.
Excellent.
Okay.
So, driverless bus in crash after 2 hours on road in Las Vegas,
Yes, I saw that.
and human errors to blame.
Yes, it is. So what happened? Because I actually covered this at work. So it's a little white it's called like a shuttle bus, and it is completely driverless. There is no driver. It's completely automated. It was like a test experiment.
Right.
It basically was driving along and came across a lorry that was trying to basically, I think it was trying to reverse in to turn round. And then what happened was it stopped and then the lorry just rammed into it. As it was turning like right or left, I'm not sure exactly, just rammed into the fucking bus. So actually, the bus did exactly what it should have done. And then I think in the actual code it went, human was at fault. So it codes everything that's not another shuttle. It goes, if it's a shuttle, it knows when other shuttles are around. So it can be like, I'm working in conjunction, and they can talk to each other and say, I've got this much weight on board and travelling this fast, so therefore it'll be this much braking distance. But when it can't communicate with another vehicle and it knows there's a vehicle in front of it, it just assigns human. So it went human at fault. Like when they downloaded the data. And then they went into it and then they went, yep, it was that person's fault. So this could change the world of automotive accidents and all sorts of stuff. So yes.
One step closer to the robo-apocalypse.
It's a bit shit that 2 hours in, somebody decided to go, I'll see you, and just like try to ram a truck into it.
Skynet is real.
Oh yeah, Skynet's been real for a while. I mean, you look at the stuff that we've covered previously in the podcast about like AI changing their own language to be able to communicate with themselves more efficiently than human language, and then us shutting it down because we're scared of it.
And driverless buses putting humans in danger.
Well, it's not the driverless bus, it was the fucking stupid human truck
putting
driver.
driverless buses in danger.
Dun 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 dun. Right, next one, final one.
The bonus one.
Bonus round.
Fitness fanatic gets his penis stuck in a weight and has to get it.
We've covered this. We've covered this before. We've done this on a previous podcast, mate.
Have we?
Yes, we have. 100%.
So excited for this one.
Well, he was also excited, wasn't he? Anyway, but for anyone...
What makes you put your dick in a dumbbell?
For basically what happened was, so I know this because I found this article, was that if everyone doesn't know what a dumbbell is, basically it's referred to as a plate. It's basically a very thin cylinder of metal with a hole in the centre.
There's a picture.
There's not a picture of his dick in it. There's a picture of the weight cut open. But basically, for some reason, he decided to put his dick in it, which I'm sorry, but when you're a guy, you do think about, where could I put this dick? So you look at a hole and you're like, I could put my dick in there. I thought that. I've definitely thought that.
Every time I walk past a beehive.
Imagine if they actually did that. You put that in a beehive, you get fucked up. Imagine a hornet's nest. Ooh.
Imagine trying to get it out. It's all swollen because
of the bee stings. You have to punch the
punch
you have
your way through. I'm coming, Dick. I'm coming.
Well, I hope you wouldn't actually be coming in there, because I don't think the bees would be able to use that for anything.
Come on, bees! I'm giving you some of my honey.
Oh, that's terribly, terribly offensive towards bees. You know what, mate? You should stop trying to force yourself upon bees. Sometimes bees need to be respected, all right? They are living creatures too.
I've never been penetrated by a bee, so I'm all right.
Well, there's a thing you need to tick off the list before you die.
Do I?
Get penetrated by a bee. There you go. Tick it off. You mean as long as you get stung, you'll be all right. Like, I don't mean like with a penis. I just mean as long as you get stung, obviously. Anyway.
Lovely.
So,
So yeah, dumbbells.
So dumbbell, the guy basically decided to get his dick stuck in there, and it probably swollen. It's swollen up.
He decided to put his dick in. He didn't decide to get it stuck.
Yeah, it swelled up.
He thought it would be fine.
He had to call firefighters, and they had to cut it basically off of his genitals. So they had to get like a saw, and you see, like in the picture, you'll see like segments of it, and they had to get that foot saw very close to his genitals to be able to do it. It wasn't an especially big weight. It was like a 2.5 kilogram one, but imagine that round your dingleberry.
Nope, no, thank you.
Especially when it's swollen. It would be interesting if he'd taken like Viagra first, because then that's premeditated. He basically sexually assaulted that weight, and then the authorities then killed it out of disrespect to its gender.
And if you are away and you have been affected by
You say that they used a saw.
I think those.
Any vibration from that?
It's just going to make you more excited. Yep.
I bet he came when
when it got right next to it, right next to his man stump, his manhood. He then decided,
and that's just because the firefighters.
Yes, well, fuck now. In certain countries, firefighters are sexy. In Britain, they. I remember we had a fire.
Germany.
We had a fire in. No, don't do that. My browser will be destroyed. Anyway, so I'll tell you about the story of when I used to live in university halls, and then basically a bunch of people decided they were going to have late night toast and left their toast in the toaster, and it set all the fire alarm off, which for an entire block at university means you have to clear out a few hundred people out of a flat block, basically. So we're all outside waiting, and then the fire brigade turn up. And all the girls, and I heard some of the girls like, "Oh, firemen, oh, it's gonna be nice. Oh, yeah, I bet they're gonna be sexy." When they turned up, it was basically 4 middle-aged, fairly portly men jumped out of the fire engine, and all the girls' faces went from being like so smiling for anyone who's listening to kind of a stoic kind of for fuck's sake. Fuck's sake.
The firefighters walk around going, "You're right, love.
You're right, love. How's it going?
Love.
Teeth missing, fucking." Pot belly, couldn't jog more than 5 minutes before keeling over and needing a cigarette. But yes, that was. I remember when that happened, and then what we also realised there was that on that day is that there's a panel for all the alarms, and the panel said which flat number were the ones responsible for it, and they got pranked all year long. And do you know why they got pranked all year long? Because Simon pranked them all year long, where I used to do some fucked up shit to their front door.
Such as
stick my dick in the keyhole. Had to get cut out by firemen. But that is...
Please do it for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, and those who do not identify as either or, it's time for our special guest, Mr. Jason Furness. Give it up. Say hello, Jay.
Evening. Very, very special is quite flattering. I'll take somewhat special, but I'll accept it. Nice room. I like it.
Just bring the microphone.
A bit closer.
Yeah, just because these are the vocal mics rather than a condenser mic. And the only reason I know the difference between the two is because I've done that much podcasting research that I can tell you all about microphones, but very little about anything else. But it's a pleasure to have you in, mate.
No, good to be here.
It's been good to have a chat with you and get everything sorted. So yeah, we can just get started with this, get this interview going. I suppose one thing I wanted to know about, Jay, and we kind of just discussing that before we were doing the podcast or started recording, basically about your story, about where you come from and what you do.
Yeah, well, right now I'm a full-time writer in MMA. I've been full-time working in MMA for probably coming on 8 years now, which has been pretty fortunate. I mean, I'm not one of those lifelong martial artists as such. I mean, I was an active kid and everything, and my first introduction to MMA was seeing Ken Shamrock in the WWF when he used to come in and Ken Shamrock ankle lock everybody.
Yeah.
And for some reason that just like really resonated with me. And I used to wrestle with my brothers. I've got 2 older brothers, and we used to like almost murder each other all the time. And but I like the submissions, and for some reason I always used to get that, and it always intrigued me. So from being like 10, I remember there were a video shop in town, and they had like the UFC, and it was like not suitable for kids, and all I ever wanted was to watch that, the world's most dangerous man. So it planted a seed. I started doing a little bit of Thai boxing. I did a little bit of boxing, but I was playing a lot of rugby at the time, and I was playing at a reasonably good level. I played county rugby union, and basically I had to choose at one point or another, were it the combat sports or were it the rugby. So I went down the rugby route till I got to uni, so I was like 18, 19. And pretty much, if you know anything about rugby union, at a certain level it gets very cliquey.
Yeah.
And especially the level I was at, I was like just a lad from a council estate who happened to be pretty good at rugby.
And what uni was that you played rugby for?
I didn't play for uni. I played for Huddersfield, but I went to university at Manchester. I got offered the opportunity when I went to Manchester to get put on like a semi-pro contract to go and play and come back and train at Huddersfield, which from Manchester wouldn't been too bad. Yeah. But certain point at the county level and like the university level, like I say, it's very cliquey, and I had to make a choice at that point. Could I be arsed with it anymore? Could I not? Am I going to make it? And as much as I enjoyed it, I decided to go down a different route. Like I say, I'd always been active. I've competed in a lot of things, but at that point I was watching a lot of the UFC, really getting into MMA, and I was like, right, now's my opportunity. I'm going to sack off the rugby. I'm kind of used to the physical side and whatever. And I'm like, I'll find a gym. Luckily happened upon a good gym in Manchester. And then ever since that, MMA has pretty much taken over most of my life. So, yeah, and here we are today. I'm fortunate enough to be in MMA, working, writing, coaching, and a few other different bits and bobs that all kind of amalgamate to give me some sort of job. Yeah,
I think that is very much nowadays that you know how everyone used to go bang, like your parents will say like, oh, you need a stable job and you need a career, etc., and a pension. But nowadays there's the working environment's changed, and that might be because of the economic crash, that might have been because of just how modern times are working. But now you're getting this gig economy going on, like Deliveroo and Uber have kind of, that's the ones that kind of make it. But like, as you said, you're piecing together different parts to make something that, one, that you're interested in, and two, is able to provide for yourself and your family.
And fortunately enough for me, I mean, I got into like full-time roles. I've worked for magazines and websites in a full-time capacity. Yeah. But when my now wife was pregnant with our first kid, kind of the decision was made almost mutually with my old boss. I saw it as a good opportunity to try and go on my own, because I wanted to, everybody talks about when you have your first kid, like, it flies by, and I thought I can be a dad who's working full time, seeing her for maybe an hour a night, and then, hardly seeing anything of her growing up. But if I work at home, I'll get to do both. So that was the plan. Turns out if you work at home with a small child, you don't do much working. But it worked out brilliantly. I've seen her grow up for the first couple of years. I've got another one on the way. The way it worked out just meant I was able to juggle doing some writing, doing a bit more coaching at the gym, less fighting since my young one's been born. But, putting all these things together, all these things that I do, commentary, writing, coaching, bits and bobs of other things, and all, I can then working the work around my life, as opposed to having to fit everything else, and each element of it is all something that I enjoy. So I'm pretty fortunate in that respect that it's worked out. And the more work that I did, the more, when you first start out being self-employed and anything, it's like, is it going to work? My missus were pregnant, and I'm thinking, this is a bit of a gamble, but it paid off. I stuck with it. I took on a load of what I'd probably now describe as like crappy work that I'm fortunate enough now to have enough good work that I don't have to do anymore. And it's just built up and to a point where I'm pretty comfortable with what we've got. And, not in a, I don't work all the hours God sends, because I'd rather not, I'm of the opinion that, the balance in your life is the most important thing. So if I can balance the things that I want to do, what I want to do is I want to spend time with my daughter. I want to help her grow and learn. I want to go to the gym. I want to coach. I want to get better at martial arts. And if I can do just enough work to make all the rest of the priorities, at the front of what I'm doing, and spend most of the time doing that, then brilliant. And so far that's working, because I think when the kids go to school, I can work as hard as I need to.
Exactly.
But for now, I'm just finding that balance, and I'm pretty fortunate. I mean, the harder I work, the luckier I get, somebody once said to me. But I'm in a good place now where it's kind of all working out all right.
And then you said that you're doing coaching for martial arts. So where is it that you're coaching at?
Yeah, I coach at AVT.
So that's Asylum Valley Judo?
Yeah, Asylum Valley Judo. We're based in Morley in Leeds.
Yep.
We've bounced around a few different places. Danny Mitchell's the head coach there. Danny's obviously a pretty well-known fighter in the UK and Europe. He's fought in the UFC, BJJ black belt. One of the craziest but best guys you'll ever meet. And he's a real sort of, I don't know, I've known him for 10, maybe 11 years. And like every time I have a conversation with him, I'll learn something new about him. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that he keeps in his locker. He's I'm sure he's like some martial arts savant or something like that. It's just like, it's weird, but like he's just an easy guy to be around. And we were operating in different gyms, but it kind of came together that we ended up working together. Danny's the head coach where I was also coaching. And then ever since then, we've been good friends. I've been like the assistant coach, lots of different coaches there. With Danny being the guy at the top of the tree, and we've built up a really good fight team, great reputation, good grapplers, good strikers. I've got loads of good kids coming through and everything. And thus far, fighting and coaching has taken me around the world as well. So that's been a bit of a buzz.
It's interesting to see that. That Yorkshire, I don't know what it is around about the mixed martial arts scene, because obviously you've got the large sort of mixed martial arts hub. You've got Liverpool, you've got Manchester, you've got Newcastle, and then you've also got London, obviously the big centre of it. But in Yorkshire, it doesn't seem to have it at the same sort of base. But I will say now it's starting to change with the likes of AVT coming up and basically becoming the premier Yorkshire mixed martial arts gym.
Yeah, I think you've got some heavy hitters, like real areas that have got this fighting history, like Liverpool in particular, Manchester. You're always going to be London because of the amount of the size of the population there. But Yorkshire, I think, probably punches above his weight in MMA because we've got the likes of guys who've been in the UFC. Danny's been in the UFC. Scott Askham, Mark Dykes is there now.
Neil
I forgot
Wayne, about him.
And it's like these guys have. Not that I think the UFC is the be all and end all. That's a story for another day. That's I don't think it's the meritocracy it once was, but it just shows that the amount of guys that we've got reaching that. The level we've got here is brilliant. We've got good shows, we've got good gyms, and we might not have. The size of the population to draw on, like some of the other places, like the density of Liverpool and London and Manchester. But we've got good guys who come together and work hard. I think it's doing all right.
Yeah, it's good to see that.
I've seen that. I've not been in the sport as long as some people. There's been people in Yorkshire MMA since the 90s. Do you know what I mean? It's been 11, 12 years for me. But even from that point in time, I've seen like the explosion of it. It's been pretty intense, and the level just goes up and up and up. We've got amateurs. When I started fighting pro, we've got amateurs at our gym. We even got kids who would kick my ass when I first started fighting pro. The evolution of it's been absolutely crazy. And now, obviously, for me, obviously one of the focuses is bringing on the next generation and helping those guys achieve much more than we ever did.
Yeah, well, I think that's an important part, is making sure that you can help advance the next generation with the experiences and lessons that you learned, where you can say, look, that doesn't work, or that does work, or here's something interesting,
of course,
let them expand.
For every mistake you make, that's a shortcut for somebody that you're taking along that path. And it's not always been easy, but you wouldn't change it. But if you can give somebody a hint or a shortcut that took you 10 years to learn, you can give them in their first year, then they're going to do well. And there's loads more opportunities for the guys these days.
Well, you look at the amount of fights that are going on. I was just on Google earlier because I was a bit bored, and I was just Googling UK MMA events
on your
and
lunch
fights.
hour, I hope.
Yes, exactly, on the lunch hour when I have the mandatory break. And it's just the list is it's massive now. You're getting more events. You had obviously a big events like Bellator and the UFC have come to different parts of Britain, but then you're also getting the homegrown shows are coming up. You think about it, like Cage Steel, for example, which obviously we'll talk about in a bit. But you've also got the likes of in the north as well. You've got FCC, which is Full Contact Contender.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Hey, I've got that. I guess that right. I'm quite happy with that.
Bolton, northwest.
But you got that in the north. You've got also the Cage Warriors spin out. I think that's down in Kent or something like that, where they feed into the actual Cage Warriors themselves.
You got Cage Warriors operate there in Liverpool.
Yeah.
They've had shows in Newcastle as well, and the academies. They've got an academy in Liverpool as well as dotted around loads of other places. You got big promotions in the northeast, likes of Made for the Cage. You got promotions operating in Yorkshire, Manchester, Ice. I'm going to be going refereeing on Ice this weekend. Liverpool. The north is there's really high level, good quality shows. There was a point in time where there was lots of tripe, but now what happened was a couple of years ago, Cage Warriors really were the front runner. They had all the shows. They were signing all the best guys. And a lot of the local regional promotions that were that are having their best guys taken ended up folding or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was a dearth of the regional stuff when Cage Warriors went really quiet. But now they've all started picking back up again, and everybody's got an eye on quality. If once one person raises the bar, everyone's got to. A rising tide raises all ships. And everybody now is even the lowest standards better than the better shows when I first started that I first used to see. So it brings everybody on, and the level of shows now I don't see many terrible shows anymore. I used to see a lot of terrible shows, dangerous shows, but now everybody's kind of on a level, good officials, good medicals, doctors and everything like that. So it's not only the fighters coming on and evolving, but the shows are getting better and safer. A lot less people are making profit their initial concern, the not as many people cutting corners. Not that it still doesn't happen, but it's bringing everybody on together and bringing the level of safety up, and then that means once that rises, then everybody like rises with it. Do you know what I mean? So it's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see that the actual local talent is being supported by local companies, and that it's not having to, like, people aren't having to commute bloody hours and hours to try and get to at the other end of the country to fight. They can do that, and some people do that, and they move around a lot to be able to compete and get the money and the experience as well. But especially in Yorkshire, it's nice to know that you've got people who are going to have your back and are going to try and make sure that you're first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. And people that are committed to help building the regional scene as well as you yourself. I mean, as an amateur, I went and had a fight in Norwich, which, if you've ever been to Norwich, is like the absolute arse end of nowhere to get to. And like,
just lost our Norwich fans. Sorry, Norwich.
Lovely place, but just to get to it, I mean, it's really out of the way. And I went and had a fight there. It basically cost me loads of money to go and fight there.
Yeah.
It was basically a professional rules fight, but as an amateur. Cost me money, it went, but I was happy to do that. Like, but now with so many good shows around, high level shows who respect their amateur fighters, you don't have to do that. Like I say, you can travel. It's good to travel and take on different opportunities. But like, really, back then you didn't have a choice if you wanted to fight, especially under a certain rule set. You had to travel and do it. But now the guys have got so many more opportunities on the doorstep, which is why you can get better fighters, which is why everybody's coming on quicker. They're getting, they're not having to rush to pro to get the fights or whatever. So it's good, and it's come on now. The scene is like so much better than it ever has been, I think.
And then with the at Asylum Valley Tudo, so obviously you've got Danny Mitchell there as the head coach. Is it black belt from, is it Darren and Helen Curry?
Yeah.
Combat base.
Combat base, yeah.
And they're under. Was it that they got their black belt from? Is it Chris Houter?
Chris Houter, yeah. Chris Houter, I mean, he's a great guy. Like, really sort of
legend of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Like, he was one of, they call him the Dirty Dozen. It was the first 12 non-Brazilian BJJ black belts, and Houter was one of them. Like, he's been there for a lot of years, and I mean, he's a cool guy. Like, he's got a lot of stories, as most guys from that era have got a lot of stories. And Helen, I think, was the first female BJJ black belt in the UK.
Yeah.
Darren then got his black belt, and now Danny's a first degree. I think it's 3 years after he got his black belts. Now he's a first degree. But we've got 3 black belts at our gym now, which...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Phil Hounsey and Roberto Barbiero, and, there's other guys, like good high-level guys who are probably on the cusp as well. To say, we're not a small gym in Leeds, we're a big gym really, but to have so much talent in one area condensed into one place, there's not many places that can say that.
I'd certainly say having 3 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts in one place, obviously they're all going to be different people, and they're all going to have different attributes and different preferences when it comes to it. So that kind of that sort of work there and what they bring to the table would be beneficial for anyone in the grappling department of Asylum Valley Tudo. I mean, what's it like when it's the actual striking? So the actual striking classes, who takes that, for example?
We've got really good coaches in striking as well. We've got Simon Stadnicki. He's an undefeated pro MMA fighter. He fought on ACB.
Yeah, I was about to say ACB.
Yeah, but he's got about, I think, 25 years in Thai boxing. He's like a multiple time champion. He's had like a shit ton of fights. Can I swear? Is that
yeah,
right?
it's fine. Yeah. We always swear in it. I mean, I was going to bring up one thing on the swearing topic of the mantra that is Asylum Valley Tudo.
We fight any chap.
Any chap, yes, exactly. Not our meter that we do have with the podcast. Well, we're going to get the meter going.
Did I break that last week?
We did break it. So we set. For anyone who's at home, who please cover your children's ears, or if you have a delicate predisposition towards certain swear words, please don't listen to this next bit. But it's #WFAC, which stands for
We Fight Any Cunt.
Yeah, We Fight Any Cunt, which is a lovely way. It's one of the most British things you could possibly say of that. And it is very much representative of that, because we've seen, I mean, you've seen people fight.
Term of endearment in Britain, isn't it? That word.
Yes, it can be. It can definitely be.
Yeah.
Without wanting to say it too many times, it's not as if we're saying, it's like, we're not saying it offensively, it's just like,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, any kind, whatever.
It doesn't matter. You just want to fight and you want the experience.
And that's the thing. You talk about like cultures in gyms and atmospheres that you breed. Danny has led from the front, and he's fought around the world in people's backyards and beaten them on next to no notice. That's what got him into the UFC. He went to Sweden to fight Bessam Youssef on like a week's notice on Superior Challenge in a big stadium. Choked him out, and and you kind of breed that. I was in the Middle East. I was in Jordan fighting another one of our guys who would fight anyone anywhere, James Saville, the tie-dye samurai. And really interesting guy. You'd love to have him on.
Tie-dye samurai.
I think you'd need about 5 hours and a lot of hallucinogenics, but that's sorry for doing it. But I was out cornering him in Jordan, and we were out there, and he weighed in and everything, and then Artem Lobov, Conor McGregor's pal, was fighting a Russian guy there, and the Russian guy failed his medicals, so we're up in our hotel room, and the phone call came up to the room, and they're like, Jay, I'm like, all right, like, do you want to fight Artem Lobov? I'm like, oh, all right. And it kind of, all right, well, come down to the room then. We'll weigh you, take your pictures. You fight Artem tomorrow. I'm like, all right, cool. Got off the phone. I'm like, scraps. That's James Saville. I'm fighting Lobov tomorrow. And he's like, oh, sweet, yeah, nice one. And that was that. So I ended up fighting him. The funny thing was, I was commentating about a month earlier on an OMAC show in Liverpool, and Lobov fought a guy called Shea Walsh. Was Shea the BAMMA champion? I think he was a BAMMA champion.
Yes.
And Lobov fought him on late notice, like he always did, because he fits into our ethos pretty well. He's an absolute beast. And he fought Walsh on late notice and knocked him out. And I was interviewing him for Your MMA, my old site, afterwards. And in about as friendly a way as you can do it, and in his like sort of stoic Russian accent. I'm not going to do it, by the way. He said, he's like, Jay, I tell you what, he says, me and you would be a really good fight. And I'm like, yeah, it probably would. Maybe it'll happen at some point. And he's like, yeah, that'd be cool. And then, little did I know, about a month later, I'd be.
The foreshadowing was there.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the only reasons I did that, and it's, like I say, it's part of the ethos. It's about the opportunities and like the memories you create. That's a cool story to tell. But for someone else, I might not have done it, but Martin was a guy who saved many a show, gone in for loads of late notice fights against good guys. And I thought, this guy's here, he's trained, we're in the Middle East, and now he's got no fight. Like, if anybody, he's the guy that deserves a break. He deserves someone to step up. So that was the only reason I did it, really. So after that, then you got the guys who just, I think if you make it, like I say, you make it the culture, not to be unprepared, but if you're training like year round and you're somewhat ready, you don't out these ideas that all fighters now have to have 6, 8, 10 week camps or whatever. I think it's a bit crazy. Like, at a certain point, it's more just about the experience and jumping in and doing it. And so now the guys, if they see the top pros doing it, Danny, me, James Saville, and guys like that, then the other guys, they're like, oh, it's a short notice fight here, do you want to do it? It's like, yeah. So then they get used to it, and then fighting just becomes your competition, but it's not like the whole life-changing scenario that people have to make it out to be. If you get used to fighting and being comfortable fighting under situations that aren't necessarily in your favour, then when it comes to do it, like, it's not a big deal anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's just competition at the end of the day. I used to play rugby 2 or 3 times a week, and I was never had to have an 8-week camp for it. Like, obviously it's different, but then when you've got nothing to lose in those situations, and then when you're prepared, you're more confident. Like, I remember thinking, I did the 3 full rounds with about 15 minutes, like, and I was totally gassed, but I did it. Do you know what I mean? And that made me think, when I had fights after that, when I was better prepared, I'm like, if I can do it then, if I can do the rounds then I can certainly do them when I'm fit, and it gives you a bit of a mental edge as well. And it's just like, we keep that going, and we have loads of guys step up to late notice fights, and win or lose, it's about the experience, and we've kind of got that reputation now. People need fighters. Like, they give us a bell.
And it's an opportunity to shine on some of the biggest stages when you guys can have a reputation of being able to put your hand up and say, I'll take that fight. Anyone in this entire gym will take this fight no matter what. And for promoters, it just makes it so much easier.
And it's not only being the ones that obviously are providing the fighters, it's the ones that, well, like you say, you're concentrating on the quality as well. So it's providing that quality fighter as well. So
absolutely,
I mean, that's getting that reputation behind you.
So they know if an AVT lad turns up at their show, like, even if it's late notice, they're going to be of a certain quality. Like, you've got journeymen and you've got, like, maybe a few idiots who might turn up for a few quid and roll over. But if you've got somebody to come and fight your guys, who, you know, even on late notice, will come and they'll have a real fight. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what they want, and that's a promoter's dream, but it's good for us, good for our fighters, and it's good for the fans, which, you know, seeing somebody roll over and fall over at the whiff of a punch is not good for anyone, you know.
No. I think a pertinent one of that is an example in big MMA news is obviously now Michael Bisping has filled in for Anderson Silva against Kelvin Gastelum. Like, that's an example, and obviously it's pertinent as well because he is an English fighter. And it's just an example of a guy who's literally just lost the middleweight championship to possibly one of the greatest mixed martial artists on the planet, who's ever graced the planet even. He's then stepping up to fight a very dangerous Kelvin Gastelum, who is training with Eddie Bravo. So he's a 10th planet jiu-jitsu guy. I don't know what belt rank he is, however. But he's also extremely fast, got a lot of punching power. I mean, he's beaten the likes of Vitor Belfort, for God's sake. If you can beat Vitor Belfort, you're a dangerous person. And it highlights the example of somebody at the main stage is willing to do that. And that's how Michael Bisping got, you know, the middleweight belt.
Yeah,
he got
exactly.
it, stepping up.
If you're willing to take these opportunities, you know, sometimes it pays off. He became the world champion off the back of that. Not many people, I'm sure other people got asked and denied that fight and turned down that fight against Rockhold. Bisping did it knowing that he lost to Rockhold in the past and still turned up, knocked him out and became the champion. Like, that's why you do it.
It's a fairy tale story.
I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the kind of fairy tale story that can galvanise young men and women into doing it. Like, you look at the likes of people when they just rise. They shine in these with pressure. And I think that before, like, maybe Michael had the opportunity to have the full camp and he was feeling like, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life and I'm prepared for this and everything. And maybe that's what was the downfall. But when he said, I've actually got to fight a guy who's knocked me out and, well, knocked me down and choked me out before, and I was prepared then, I've got to absolutely perform this time. And I think that was a really good example of, I think Michael Bisping is one of these people who needs to be kept continuously sharp. Yeah. He's like that sword that needs to be continuously used, and if it's not used, it becomes dull. Yeah. And the interesting bit is if he wins against Gastelum, he's right back in the middleweight contention again. But then obviously you've got this entire fuckstorm that's happening with GSP's the middleweight champion of the world.
Which I don't think is going to be a long-term thing.
I don't think he's going to defend that belt. Yeah. I think he's going to fight either Woodley to get his welterweight championship back, or he's just going to go full money baller and fight Conor. Yeah. Because Conor, I mean, we saw in the news about Conor. Basically, he jumped the cage. I think I covered this last weekend. He jumped the cage in a BAMA event, and then basically, the press proceeded to say he assaulted Mark Goddard. Give him a little shove. I think that was about it. But I felt more sorry for, you know, did you see the actual clip?
Yeah, I've seen it.
He kind of, when he was pushing at the other officials, the poor guy who'd been knocked unconscious. Was on the floor. He almost trampled the poor fucker.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, as well, you know, both Conor and Mark have come out with their explanations since, and yesterday or the day before, whenever it was. And in Conor's explanation, he actually said, you know, part of the reason he took umbrage with it was because Charlie Ward, his fighter, had killed the guy in Ireland before their fight, or. And he said that was part of his reason. But if that was anything to do with his reasoning, then you're not going to be pushing and shoving around a prone fighter laid on the floor, you know, half conscious. If the safety of the opponent is,
you'd be jumping into his arms, not into not into your own fighters.
If your guy's opponent was your priority and the reason that you're kicking off, then you wouldn't act like that and push people around him when he's lying on the floor. I think he just made excuse and tried to come up with something that makes him look all right out of the situation, when really he's just fired up, jumped in there like a dick, into his mate's arms. He knows he shouldn't have done, but he knows he can use his stature to try and basically do what he wants. Goddard, to his credit, you know,
He's a consummate professional.
Of course
he is a consummate
he doesn't take
professional.
any shit. He's doing the right thing. Conor shouldn't be in there. He wasn't even one of the cornermen. He was just in the crowd. If that was any other member of the crowd jumping in, do you know what I mean? Like, everybody would say it's well out of order. So Goddard's just doing his job and following the protocol, the right protocol, and I mean, there was no need for Conor to react like that, other than, I think, just a little bit of his ego talking, since Goddard told him off rightly before and told him off again this time. I think it was, a lot of his ego, and then he's trying to backtrack a little bit, saying it was something else.
Yeah.
But then he hit the other commissioner when he came back and jumped on the cage. There was another commissioner that he gave a left hook to on the cage when the commissioner's trying to tell him to get down. And whichever way you cut it, he was out of order.
Well, he was meant to be on the December 31st card for the UFC. It's some speculative bout, which we don't know who it was.
I think if you believe that, then I've got some snake oil for you here that I would like to sell you. I think that was kind of UFC's way of saying, "Oh, Rob, we've taken action. Look, this mythical card that he was on and definitely booked a fight on, he's now off. So look what we've done. We've done our discipline on him."
They might have used it as a kind of negotiating power, because obviously Conor he's come out and said that he doesn't want to take a fight unless he's got a stake in the UFC. And Dana White's obviously saying, "I'm not giving you a stake of the company." One, it's no longer him to own. But maybe they've just been able to use it to be able to, you know what, we'll just let you sit for a little bit longer and use the time and try to see what they can do to get him booked back in to fight, hopefully on their terms, because at the end of the day, they're a business and they've got to make money, and they can't be selling flipping slices of the pie across to the fighters. They can't let the precedent be stated. But the other side of the coin is Conor he's making it so that fighters are getting more equity.
Yeah, and he's broken every precedent to date. You know what I mean?
Pay-per-view numbers, social media following.
Absolutely, and he's paved the way. I'm a big fan. I like the guy, and
he makes us all money. He makes us all money.
And everything, and he's made an industry for himself. I know guys I've been friends with for quite a lot of years through the journalism route and whatever, who are now full-time employed by him to do his Mac Life site and whatever. Yeah. And he's employing people, he's letting people do their dream jobs, and he's made a lot of people who've worked hard for a lot of years a lot of money, like his coach John Kavanagh, who's been there doing it for years, and this is the first guy really that will have made a real bank for him. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And that's, credit to him. I'm not the one to slate him usually. He's done a lot for the sport, but let's call a spade, and when he's out of order, you've got to say it is too. Do you know what I mean? You can't protect him. The only real problem I see with that is because he was there as a spectator, and you got some random, tribal athletic commission, overseeing however, but they've got no jurisdiction over a fan. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
How can they discipline a guy who's essentially there as a fan?
And he's not going to fight for that commission.
Yeah,
he's not going to fight for that promotion. So probably,
the stern words or whatever have been said, but basically they've got no way to tell him off or discipline him regardless. So
it's a shame, and to be brutally honest, I mean, Bellator, it was a good coup for Bellator, because Bellator and BAMMA they were co-promoting it together, this event, which was a brilliant idea by Scott Coker to be able to get more bank inside of a dedicated mixed martial arts community of the UK, which hasn't been heavily saturated by the UFC yet. I mean, Brazil, it's heavily saturated by the UFC, but in the UK they haven't really done as much promotion, in my opinion.
It's certainly drifted off a little bit.
And I think Bellator has come in at a good time, and basically they've been able to use the UFC's premier star to hype their event and make people watch.
And probably the most views they've ever got.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the back of Conor acting like that.
Acting like an idiot. But this is the thing, he's this weird flipping special Irish leprechaun that leaps around and says shit, but gold shoots out of his ass. It does. Gold does shoot. Where he goes, there is money. And I think that's why you see fighters calling him out, saying, I want to fight him. It's kind of like when Manny Pacquiao fought Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
And Manny Pacquiao had that shoulder injury, and he knew about it. The commission knew about it, and Floyd knew about it. Still fought him and still took the paycheck.
Yeah.
He knew he was probably going to lose that.
Everyone gets paid.
Everyone gets paid for something. And admittedly, when you're at that level of boxing, Manny Pacquiao made a fuckload of money, and now he could probably be the president of the Philippines.
Yeah.
Easy.
The area now is that, all the big money in boxing, everybody's turn into an MMA star to try and make it. Just De La Hoya's just come out and he says, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna face Conor McGregor and I'm gonna knock him out in 2 rounds, like a legend of the sport who's not fought in 10 years, and like now he's trying to make his money off an MMA star. And it's like,
well, it's because he was so critical. He was so critical about the actual fight, even though it was making him money, because he was thinking like, oh, it's going to draw people away from the Canelo Triple G fight, and he was like, oh, people can't afford to do both pay-per-views. Well, actually, people probably can afford to do the pay-per-views, and more people. You're going to bring all the MMA fans and other combat sports fans from that culture of that McGregor brings, and bring it into boxing, which is it's kind of in this dwindling kind of atmosphere now. I think that British boxing has actually contributed to a resurgence in boxing, in all honesty. I mean, you've got the likes of Anthony Joshua, David Haye, Tony Bellew, Chris Eubank Jr. You've got these British stars that are coming out now, George Groves, and you've got all these people are bringing a new sort of revitalized energy to boxing, which is great, because I'm not one to go, oh, MMA's the best and boxing's terrible, etc. I like all of it, and each discipline is interesting for me in certain ways. I do think that mixed martial arts right now can be the most exciting, but then obviously you get, I mean, you probably have heard this where people go, oh, they're grappling, that's boring.
Yeah.
And I hate, like, I've been in sports bars and somebody will say that, why is he hugging him? And that wound me up a lot when I heard that. That wound me up a hell of a lot. But then I'm a bit like,
I think that was like what I was like before, because I'm a relative newcomer to MMA, and I think my nickname for it was cuddling on the floor for a long time before I actually sort of started to learn, the technique and everything behind actually, the grappling and all of that sort of stuff.
Who doesn't like a cuddle?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So people like to have a hug. People like to have a hug, and if it involves elbowing somebody in the face. And this is the weird thing about mixed martial arts. People say all the people who are cage fighters are violent and aggressive, and they're psychopaths that basically are put into it, and they're given this moniker, which I think is changing nowadays. But they're the nicest people in the world. Like they'll go from punching and kicking each other in the head to picking each other up and hugging and smiling and high-fiving and saying hello to people.
Yeah. I mean, most of the guys, probably like the best guys at the gym or whatever, like, half of them are nerds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you get a lower level, people think like the cage fight or whatever, that most of the guys who try and fulfill that image, who want to do it to look hard and for their ego, don't last very long, because, egos...
It's very humbling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Egos don't last on the mats, do you know what I mean? I've had times where you've been coaching, you get like, big roided up doormen or whatever coming in, and
they get smushed by a tiny guy.
Yeah, exactly, and they're getting choked out repeatedly, and they don't come back because their egos can't take that. So most of the guys that act like that are usually not real fighters, or just like the image that's associated with it, and they don't tend to last very long. The guys that stick at it, the guys that are determined, not to say obviously not all doormen are idiots or anything like that, or roided up. We've got a lot of doormen, but they're like they're in it for the long haul. They're not in it for their ego. They're in it because they like martial arts and improving and competing. It
might be for their job as well. Like, you think about like policemen, firemen. I've known those guys involved in mixed martial arts. Doormen, a lot have. I mean, when you look at it, the list of people who used to be doormen, John Kavanagh used to be a doorman. GSP used to to be a doorman. Yeah, and they got into
everybody, because it was so hard to make a living from MMA. Like, everybody, well, not
especially in the early days,
fighters have a side job. Do you know what I mean? There's like a lot of the guys work on the doors, and it means they can train during the day and most nights, and then make some money on a weekend or whatever. But it's like I say, the guys that are following it for the right reasons, stay on. So you like half the guys, we've got Star Wars t-shirts in here, but most of the fighters at our gym are like Star Wars nerds and whatever, and like the what's it called, like the RPG games and all that, like all that kind of shit. Like you have a conversation with them, or you walk into a conversation at our gym, you're not likely to be walking to a conversation about like tribal tattoos and sunbeds. Like, you're almost certainly going to walk into a conversation either about like the favourite film, or do you know what I mean? What games they're playing this week?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
it's got to be Game of Thrones.
What book they're reading? Do you know what I mean? Like that's just how it is, and I think to have that kind of I think it's like a thirst for knowledge thing. And it's the same with martial arts, same with MMA. Like there's so many avenues, so many things to unpick that keep you going. And especially with like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the groundwork, I think people see that as like a more cerebral sport. That it attracts a lot of people who are completely not like the mold most people would.
Yeah,
think
I'd agree with that.
Do you know what I mean?
I think and that's actually one of the points I wanted to raise with you. Obviously, there was the invention, the start of an entire new type of jiu-jitsu with Eddie Bravo's combat jiu-jitsu, and I was watching the promo for it, like, you know, because they've got a UFC Fight Pass deal, they had the countdown for it, and you saw the people who were doing it. They weren't like particularly big muscle-bound creatures. A lot of them were quite thin, wore glasses, had a bit of a beard, were very soft-spoken, but they were very like analytical from the way I could understand the way they were taken. They were just like what they were doing in that combat jiu-jitsu was they were trying to see if their jiu-jitsu would work. So it's like they're testing an equation or a theory or a hypothesis and trying to go, okay, I'm going to put this into a thing. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then that's how I learn. And it was really interesting to see. And I mean, that is a whole new type of combat sport that has just started. And for anyone,
it's almost as if there's been a thing around for almost 25 years to test whether your martial art works in a fight.
Yes.
You know, I saw that and I'm like, I just couldn't really quite. I can see it, but I just thought, you know, like, kind of that's for grapplers, like that's what MMA is for, surely. Like,
in some ways, I can understand it, but I think because the way that Eddie Bravo was putting it was that if you're a real grappling nerd, is that you want to see what jiu-jitsu distilled down into its finest core could be like. And the problem with mixed martial arts is we're going into this kind of world right now, at least anyway, where it's dominated heavily by a lot of very high caliber striking. You look across the men's and women's divisions, no matter what the weight category is, you're seeing people come in from like ex Muay Thai champions, ex boxing champions, dominating a lot of it and basically stifling a lot of the groundwork because people are becoming more educated on what used to be a super dynamic and shocking thing. I mean, I remember there was an Instagram photo about when Royce Gracie first won the UFC and how the entire martial arts world changed and everyone in martial arts went, shit, you can actually hurt somebody on the ground. You can take them down and choke them or rip their arm off, or, you know, and even against like you were talking at the beginning about Ken Shamrock, like beating a big muscly American guy.
Exactly,
and beat him on the ground, even though he broke a guy's leg in his first fight. He just got him into it's not a toe hold, is it?
It was a heel hook.
It was, but then he just broke the thing clean off, and you're just like that kind of person. And then you look at Royce, who was a very thin in a white gi, and he didn't look at all muscular whatsoever.
Like 170 max, when a lot of the guys, because it was like open weight, you got guys at like. Everybody else was probably at least 200 pounds. You got big old units, and you got this skinny Brazilian guy in his little gi, and you know nobody could anticipate what was coming. But the Brazilians, the Gracies, they knew exactly what was coming. They'd been doing it for years behind closed doors. But to everyone else, it was such a surprise. Like the day that changed martial arts. What surprises me is that you still have so much like bullshit around. Like there's still a lot of it around. MMA is kind of taking a bit of that away because it's like, right, if yours works, then let's test it in this where everybody can use their rules. But the ones that shy away from that, like the ninjas and whatever, will say, well, our techniques are just too deadly. But it's like, well, try it and see, you know. But
I've heard that from, so like I've ripped on it before when we were talking about Steve Seagal in the news about him basically being a bit nasty to female actors, but Aikido is what I kind of ripped on in the last one, and I said, and I have massive respect for anyone who does any form of martial arts and dedicates their life to it, but then experiencing what Aikido was like, and then experiencing what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was like, what Muay Thai, wrestling, karate, even karate, like in the same vein. The difference between of the martial arts was it was a gulf. It was like this massive gulf between them. And I was thinking, like, during this training session I did with Aikido, I was like, I can understand it but then you stop at the point where it could become something else. It's like, when if you do striking, but you've come from mixed martial arts, so you've been doing mixed martial arts, and you normally chain strike together with a takedown to then go into a submission, and you do all that, but then you do just striking by itself. It almost feels a bit, I've stopped midway through this flow that I might have. Or if you do it in reverse, you might, I don't know, take them down and then strike with them. Like, it's this weird kind of scenario where mixed martial arts is where you're trying to pair all the different techniques and hobble them together to make them and see which is the most effective together. And that's where I think you got a really good point of that is the pinnacle of figuring out what martial arts technique work. But the problem that you've got is, and I can understand it from the combat jiu-jitsu world, is that you've got dire physical consequences when it comes to mixed martial arts. I think there's only a few guys that got TKO'd in the combat jiu-jitsu thing. So I think they were just wanting to experiment on what it would be like in the world of grappling to apply very limited striking in terms of it has to be on the ground, basically. Yeah.
I mean, even then, I mean, just touch on what you said before, like the main difference between certain arts and what you're doing is, it's just how you train. Like if you had some sort of combat Aikido where they sparred live all the time and made sure things worked in a live situation against a resisting opponent, you'd get Aikido that eventually worked off the back of that.
But that's just judo.
Yeah, doing it against guys who are throwing themselves around and allowing you to do it. Like, any martial art was made for like self-defense or combat. Like, but if you take it to the point where nobody's resisting and you're never doing it live, then it becomes something else and it just doesn't work, and you're either fooling people, or if people just want to do it for exercise, fine, but if you're telling people that you're equipping them with certain things,
it's deception.
Exactly.
It's a form of deception.
I've known guys who've done Aikido, who've trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then they've had good wrist locks in BJJ because they've done Aikido.
They'd be horrendous,
but that's because they've had something about them to take them into a martial art where you are sparring live and you're rolling and it's fully resisted. Just doing one, like, nothing's useless. Do you know what I mean? There's things from any martial art that will work, but you only know that if you test it live and in real time against a resisting opponent.
Good example is the crane kick in mixed martial arts, where Lyoto Machida knocked out Randy Couture, where he literally did the skip or jumping front kick and knocked Randy Couture clean out. Like, no one thought that would ever be used, and then the side kick, like, no one thought that would be used, and then Stephen Wonderboy Thompson decides to side kick everybody to death, basically.
And it's it's the way that he comes from a certain background, like a karate, like points kickboxing kind of background, but it's how you then use that and train that in your full contact training and whatever. These people, they're normally a rarity, people coming from like a certain background and doing well, but it's if they've got the capacity as a person to then go and seek like live sparring, real training, and put it to the test against somebody who's not just doing what they do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and it's like, it says a lot about a person, but it's good as well, and then it helps people in MMA to obviously, oh look, we can also try this.
You can borrow stuff.
You got more guys going to taekwondo classes and whatever, because you don't want to do like Olympic tip-tap taekwondo, but the power and speed on a lot of the kicks blended in to your like full contact training and sparring obviously can be effective, but it's just, I mean, I'd have a problem with bullshit merchants of all descriptions, whether it's martial arts or otherwise, but they're all made of the same thing, like, and they never want to do the rigorous testing, whether you're a medium or some shitty supplement salesman or whatever. It's the rigorous testing that they don't do, and that applies across the board, whether it's martial arts or anything else.
And that could be like where you're talking about the ego, of where you have those people who come to the gym and they train once and they never turn up again. And then it's the ego again of that there's these people who create a system of martial arts and they call it after themselves usually, and they claim to be some kind of black belt in something that has no affiliation towards them, and they have no way of proving any sort of lineage, for example. And I think the likes of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is extremely good at hunting out people who are not of the lineage, of exposing them and saying you are a fake, and you're a fake because you can't say that you're of there. And you see it on like Facebook forums. I mean, the invention of social media has been able to keep Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think, clean because
cleaner than most.
Yeah,
because you're going to be cold in it, and sometimes people complain about that, but I think that vigilance is important.
It's key.
Do you know what I mean? And the good thing, or what should be the good thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that you're tested on the mats the whole time, or you go and fight, or you go to a comp. But the ones that are insular have usually got something to hide. Do you know what I mean? And if they, like say, Mr. whatever, if I had Taekwondo and I only had my students in my gym and I didn't let them go anywhere else to learn other things, it's about keeping them there to make me money. At the end of the day, yes, there's ego involved, but it's money, and you're taking people's money on the pretense that either they might want to do it to get fit and it might work for that, but if you're selling them something that you use this, someone tries to attack you on the street, you'll be able to defend yourself, and you blatantly can't, then you've got to be somewhat liable for the consequences if you've taken their money to teach them that, and they can't do anything. I just think, obviously, conning people in any respect is pretty bad, but martial arts can sometimes be life and death. You know what I mean? We do MMA for competition, but it's also legitimate. If I ended up in a scuffle, I'd be able to do something about it more so than somebody with no training.
Yeah.
And it can be that it could give me that confidence. But if I was doing
Taekwondo,
Budo, Taekwondo, effective martial art, I'll not have it slandered on this podcast. But if I was doing some weird jiu-jitsu that never worked, but I believed this guy's going to attack me, and I can defend myself, but then I grab his wrist and he just pulls it back and doesn't fall over, and I'm like, oh shit, now what happens?
Have you seen those? I love watching sometimes, late at night, I want to feel a bit better about myself. So sometimes I'll deliberately Google, Ki masters and stuff like that, where they will sit there and they'll try and do the Ki and say, you can stop anyone. And then a proper, mixed martial arts, not even proper, but somebody who does a bit of what I'd say is more hard style martial arts will come in and go, right, okay, well, you're doing a seminar, let's see what it's like. And then they go, okay, and they kneel down, and they both kneel down, and then he goes through his ritual, which basically is a delay of the inevitable. And then he goes, okay, now try and strike me. And then you'll just see a guy just go bang and crack him right in the face. And then they always try to justify it, which I always think there was it's that you didn't believe in the technique.
Well, absolutely.
Well, of course. Well, no one's you think the person who's going to attack you is going to believe in the technique that you're doing? One, they're not mind readers, and two, they just want to hurt you. They're not interested in you hurting them. They're not thinking about that.
Not even hurting. It's just you're bullshitting.
You're bullshitting.
Exactly. The chi or whatever. I saw one, and it's probably the worst one I've seen. And there's some Ki master, and he's teaching all these people that obviously they can stop people using just the force of their minds and their energy.
Yes.
And this one guy comes along and he's so the Ki master's got everybody run it, and they run at him, and he stops them, with his energy force or whatever it is. And then this other guy's like, oh, can I try it? And he gets this woman, kind of a middle-aged woman, to stand there, and he's like, she'll be able to stop you with her chi. So this guy just charges at a full pelt. Obviously the chi doesn't work. Bang! Cleans her out. She's on the floor. Ah! And, and yet that's a guy who'll probably still have loads of students. And he's like, well, there's an experiment, if ever there was one, that it doesn't work. It's the poor woman who's borne the brunt of it, of having a 200-pound bloke steaming at her full pace, just taking her out with a shoulder barge. And it's just madness.
It's a cult mentality that people get into. There's a guy who was arrested in India recently, and he had a kind of a Hinduistic cult he done. You've seen Christian cults, Columbine, for example. And basically, he was taken to court for basically sexual assault and basically all kinds of nasty crimes he committed. And the cult members, which was a few thousand strong, basically burnt the city down. The police couldn't hold them back. There wasn't enough police officers there, and they were just rampaging through like the London riots. It was horrendous to watch. This poor city getting decimated because of one man's lying, basically. Intense lying that he's able to manipulate people just because he's a bit charismatic. And usually people...
Massively out of hand.
They want to cling to that. They want to cling to strong leaders and because they can give them information.
And who promise absolutes. I was teaching a class on Monday, and we were doing escapes from some position or another. And it's just how this stuff always, follows a similar pattern. And I was saying, I could teach you this escape, and sometimes it will work, but you're against a resisting opponent, he might do something that stops it working. And like, I think I said like only in martial arts especially, but only like the bullshit merchants or the con men work in absolutes, and it's the same in life. Like, I can't say this 100% will work, but it's high percentage and will work.
It's honesty,
a lot of the time. But you know, the people who get these kind of followers, they have a bit of charisma. They promise absolutes, whether that's, you know, religion, a cult, or otherwise. They promise all this stuff and say this absolutely definitely will happen, and people want that. They want definites. They don't want, well, yeah, this may or may not happen, wishy-washy. That's not how you're going to build a cult. You're going to promise them the world and give them dealing absolutes, and that's what happens. And it's, I mean, maybe it's the way my mind works, but like, I struggle to fathom it. But I guess, but that, you know, that's what a lot of people want in life, certainty. I think part of the beauty of it is that nothing is certain, and you know, we're all kind of the most minuscule speck of importance, you know. Yet people, you know, they want to be everything. They want to mean everything. They want to be important. But I think if you kind of are just a little bit more modest about it and accept that, you know, no one in the grand scheme of things really gives a shit about you, then you can enjoy your life more and do what you want to do. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be we're getting into other crazy stuff here, but it doesn't have to be a creator or an end goal, or, you know, it's just the journey, a very insignificant journey.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to round it up, to be honest there, Jay. It's very philosophical right at the end there. I like it.
A bit nihilistic. It wasn't meant to be like that, but yeah.
That is good. So have you got any up-and-coming projects going on that you want to let anybody know about?
Yeah, obviously I've been working hard with the CSFC guys for their show on December 2nd.
Yes.
They got a really good card going on. Lots of good local guys, but some
it's a four-man bantamweight tournament, isn't there?
Yeah, that's going to be
on the night.
Yeah, that's going to be sick. And there's all good guys in that as well. It's the first time we've done the four-man tournament. 4 amateur fighters, amateur bantamweights, all really good guys. All like
bit of bad blood I saw on the social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And Dom, the promoter, is absolutely loving that. You know, promoters are in their element once they get to be a bit of niggle. I was doing the interviews, like the pre-show interviews or whatever, and Warren Mason, who's one of the guys in it, good fighter from Doncaster, really experienced, and he said, Ben Fay, I'm going to fucking snap your arm or whatever. And,
that's nice.
And Dom's like, yes, yes. And then obviously,
you can actually just imagine.
I can picture him. I can hear his voice saying it,
and it set off a bit of a tete-a-tete between those guys.
Yes.
And, so that's gonna be really good. Like, and there was an Irish kid in it, Ross McCorrison, who was a really good fighter, but he's out now. They've got a new guy in called Robert Masters, I think is his name.
Right.
Something Masters, but he's like, he'll be the highest ranked guy in there, so he's late, but he's like highly ranked in the UK in the amateur rankings. Good record, I think he's something like 8-2 or 9-2, so he's got a good record. So it's going to be a really good tournament. So you got to win both fights to win the prize and the belt.
Yeah,
there's like £500 prize for an amateur's, obviously really good money as well. Yeah. And you get a belt to show for it. So that's going to be exciting with all the guys in there. And just top to bottom, there's loads of good fights, and you know, it's going to be really busy. The December ones are always busy, but like promoters always say this, but like promoting's not particularly my job. But I'm dealing with the fighters. I know how ticket sales are going, everything. It's like it's going to be a sellout. Like the atmosphere is going to be unreal. Like, and for some reason, the December shows are always like carnage as well. So everybody's in good spirits. And when the dome's packed out, like, it's a great venue for MMA, and there are many atmospheres like it.
2,000 seats roughly?
I think it's about 1,600. The way that they configure it for like the size of the cage and everything. So you've got the stalls, the tables, and then you have like a balcony up at the top. But like, when it's packed, it's going
to be a good atmosphere. We're going to be we're going to be there in attendance, so we're going to obviously let people know about how it goes. But we're very much looking forward to Cage Steel 19, the 2nd of December. If there is tickets, please go on to Cage Steel. Is it .com? .co.uk?
Cage-steel.co.uk, I believe it is.
Yeah, so go there and then basically buy some tickets, because it's, you know, in Doncaster. Why not? Why not go see Doncaster? Why don't you go see a bunch of people perform mixed martial arts?
Yeah, support it, support the local shows. It all helps the guys coming through, the grassroots guys, and the local shows are the springboards for the top guys.
Some big names.
Yeah, I
wasn't Mark Diakese? He was
Mark Diakese and Scott Askham were both there. They both had a lot of their earlier fights there. They're most of Mark's amateur fights and a couple of his early pro fights and a lot of Scott's pro fights as well were there. And look at what those guys have gone on and done. It's just it's pretty good. And supporting the local talent as well. Obviously, support big international shows, but if you like MMA, then get on board with the regional ones, and you
don't have to travel all the way to London or to Liverpool or to Glasgow. You can just go to Doncaster.
I mean, you don't generally if you haven't got a reason, but we're giving you a reason.
Exactly. Yes. Anything else that you're going to be up to in the future?
Just having a baby in a few weeks, so it's going to be carnage in my house. 2-year-old and another one on the way just before Christmas. So yeah, carnage, which writes off pretty much anything else for the foreseeable future. But I'll just be working, coaching at AVT. I'll be in and around the shows. I'm reffing at ICE this weekend in Manchester.
Yep.
Few other bits and bobs before the year's out, but all depends when this baby makes an appearance. So
could be a New Year baby.
I hope not. That'll mean she's 2 weeks overdue. So I'm hoping nice and early.
Hopefully, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jay. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Pleasure coming. Thanks for having me.
And we will we'll see you all later. Thank you very much. Bye.
Hello there.